Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of Kaiju Masterclass. My name is Eric Hominick, and I am joined here by my Kaiju Masterclass colleague, my partner in music, John DeSantis, and we're very, very, very happy this evening to have a very special guest with us, Miss Reiko Yamada. Let's tell you a little bit about who Reiko. Oh, hi, Reiko. I'm going to tell them a little bit about who you are. So,
Thank you.
Indeed. Reiko Yamada is a Japanese pianist who attended 4 years of Akira Ifukube seminars at the Tokyo College of Music. As an instrumentalist, Reiko takes an active interest in performing Ifukube's works in concert and has performed the composer's piece Ritmica Ostinata for Piano and Orchestra to Acclaim with the Tochigi-ken Symphony Orchestra in 2006 and 2010, and in 2016. With the Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra in 2008, and with the Tokyo Symphony Orchestra 2 times, once in 2014 and another time in 2016. I was at both of those concerts. They were great. Miss Yamada has recorded several critically praised CDs of Ifukube's music, and she has served as the principal keyboard of the Kalamazoo Symphony Orchestra since 1995. She has also appeared as a supplemental keyboardist with the Chicago Symphony. And again, Reiko, we are so glad that you are joining us at Kaiju Masterclass. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm really proud of it, and I really pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Oh, the pleasure is ours, certainly, Reiko. So let's start at the beginning. Let's talk a little bit about how you became interested in music in the first place. I imagine that your interest in music must have started when you were very young.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, my father was minyo, Japanese folk song singer when he was young. And my brother and my mom was very interested in listening to the music. And my older sister is already have the piano lesson. Then when I was born, music is around me. And it's very naturally I start piano.
Yeah, so your father was a folk singer and your sister was a pianist, so it was almost like a destiny to be born into a situation like this. When did you start learning piano? Around what age were you?
About like 4 years old.
Oh wow, 4 years old. So very very early. And
yes.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, but first it's like using like electrical organ, and for the group class, and then maybe I start piano myself like maybe age of 5.
Age of 5, wow! So
yeah,
you must have been playing piano all through your childhood up into the point where you entered school, and what made you decide to make music or the piano the focus of your education?
Yes, it's like I play piano all the time when I was very young, and then when I get to junior high, my sister asked me, "Are you going to go to music college, or are you going to be keep the piano as a hobby?" Because in Japan has a very difficult entrance examination for the college. So, and my sister was already in study at the college, music college. So she know how it's difficult. And also I'm living in the countryside. I don't know how much about, but my sister went to Tokyo for the study, so she knows. And she just asked me, "You should decide now, otherwise you're going to be too late." Then that time, my sister said, "If you're going to be the hobby, I'm going to teach you because, it's just not spend money for that, hobby. And otherwise, if I want to really study seriously, she can introduce her teacher in Tokyo." And I was thinking, and they thought maybe better study with Tokyo teacher. That's a very easy, reason.
So, Reiko, where did you grow up? You talked about growing up in the countryside, sort of, not really in Tokyo. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Tochigi Prefecture. It's Nikko. It's north of the Tokyo. And actually, that Nikko, Ifukube was stay whole year.
Yes, that's true. Immediately after the Second World War, Ifukube and his family moved to Nikko before they eventually moved to Tokyo in the late 1940s. Reiko's hometown has actually a very special connection to Ifukube Sensei.
Yeah, sorry, I might have been out of that line, but
it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Very funny thing is because I went to the junior high school in that Nikko Kujira. That was Ifukube was used to living, and every day I was just walking street in front of the house. Mr. Ifukube used to living.
But you didn't know that at the time, right?
No. So then when I had attend for the Zen now, I have a chance to talk to Mr. Ifukube, Maestro Ifukube, and then we talking about my hometown, the Nikko, and he said, "Nikko, are you sure? I used to live in Nikko for almost a year." And they said, "Really?" And we talking about where is that? And Kujira, and yes, my junior high was in Kujira, and he said, "Are you sure?" And he asked me, "Do you know that liquor shop named blah blah blah?" And then we start local conversation, and then we kind of surprised because we know exactly where we talking. And then Mr. Ifukube gave me his name card, and he asked me if, when I back to the visit my hometown, why don't you bring my name card to that store? He really wanna say hello to them. And then actually I just brought that name card to that store.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that must have been quite impressive that he had such clear memories of Nikko.
Yes.
Because even at that time, it would have been a long time ago for him.
Yeah, because I think he brought up one kind of story about that liquor shop. Mm-hmm. It is just one store, and he didn't have much food to eat because that time people doesn't know much about him, and he didn't have job in that area. He worked to the Tokyo, and then people only that shop people really nice to him, and they give some meat or bird, something like they catch it,
something
nice. Like that.
So he was a beneficiary of local charity in Nikko.
That's right. So sorry. So then I grew up in Nikko, and Nikko is not so far from the Tokyo, but still its lifestyle is much relaxed, not like too much competition. And I thought I play piano very well in that area. Even I went to some competition in local competition, and I get very good prize. But when I went to Tokyo to study some summer seminar, I was shocked because everybody's so good, and then I'm very behind.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because in the 1980s, that's when you began attending the Tokyo College of Music. So you wanted to make a career out of your passion for music and your passion for piano. So in the 1980s, you attended the Tokyo College of Music, where at the time Mr. Ifukube was the president. But when you entered the Tokyo College of Music, that was for a degree in piano performance. Is that correct?
That's right.
Right. So Ifukube was teaching composition. You were learning. You were there as a student, learning piano performance, not necessarily Mr. Ifukube's department. So can you talk a little bit about how you actually met Maestro Ifukube for the first time? How did you learn his name, and how did you meet him?
Actually, even I didn't know he was our president, and even I didn't know about his name at all. But that time I was really interested about contemporary music, and I have several friends in Japanese Philharmony or several major orchestra in Japan. And since contemporary music doesn't have the good selling for the ticket, friend give me the ticket. But my friend is all piano students; they are not so interesting, and I give the ticket to the composition major friends. So then one of them they thanked to me, and we have several conversations, and then he showed me the Ritmica Ostinata. He said, if you pianist and a piano major, and if you like to play some contemporary, you must listen this tape. And he gave me the tape. That was the Ritmica Ostinata. And when I listened, that was like shocked, like electricity coming in my body, like what this, it was so kind of almost a shock. I never had that kind of music, and it was from inside. I was so excited, and I was so crazy about it. And I thought this composer is somebody very special. It's different from others. I just thought it. And I was really exciting and talked to my friend. Thank you, introduced me that music. That was wonderful. And I really wish can see, that composer. And he said, do you know Reiko? He's, our college president. And I said, really? And he said, I also, he's my composition teacher. And I was so surprised because I didn't know that. And then he said also he goes to the seminar. And then I thought, I know I cannot study composition because I'm piano major. But seminar, maybe I can attend the class. And then I asked him, do you think I can do it? And he said, maybe not, because just design for the composition student. And I asked him to introduce to Mr. Ifukube. And then he brought me to president room to introduce me to him. And that was the first time to meet him that day.
So you went...
So then I...
No, well, I was going to say, you went from not knowing about this composer at all, and then you hear his Ritmica Ostinata for piano and orchestra. It's a piece, really rhythmic, exciting piece for full orchestra and piano. And you hear this piece of music and you say, I want to find out about this person. And well, he's the president of our college.
That's right. So it was a big surprise.
Big surprise. So when you go to meet him, and what was your first impression when you meet him in his president's office? Was he a intimidating man? Was he very friendly? What was he like?
Yeah, he's really calm and gentleman, and really humble. He said, my class is not so impressive or, not so interesting for you maybe because it's just for the competition. And I didn't do much things in there, he said. And then, then I said, please, I don't bother anything. I'm going to sitting very back of the class and I quiet and I don't move. I don't talk. I just want to observe your class. How about that? And he said, oh, you don't need to do that. But, if you really want to do that, you are welcome. You can come. And especially, because several of my friends is a composition major. So they are attending that class. So he said, why not? Yeah, you're welcome if you like, he said. So he was so gentle and he was like well dressed, like, the bow tie. Yeah. And very talking gently and then really calm. Yeah. And I feel like he's a kind of big man. Yeah.
So Reiko, can you kind of talk a little bit about those seminars that you just mentioned and what was it like? How were they structured? And what kind of topics did Ifukube talk about at these seminars?
Yeah, actually, no, that seminar is style in salon. Everybody was very free to talk. And then Mr. Ifukube was in the front. And then every student faced to him, sitting, maybe 2-3 row. And every time we prepare the hot tea, usually women student, girls prepare. And Ifukube every time said, I mean to, ready to work to make the tea. But somehow I feel if you make the tea taste better than men student make it, the tea that he just joking. He's so cute. But anyway, so we are talking over the tea, cup of tea. And also that time he was heavy smoker and he was smoking like cigarettes. And also all students was, smoking too. Like very, very lovely.
That's a different time right there.
That's right. But that time like that, and then everybody can talk anything, and then actually really freestyle. Not say like, oh, today this is the subject to talk. Was not like that. Every time he just come and then talking about, oh, by the way, did you go to that concert or did you hear that, topic and something? Sometimes student ask him some question. And then we start to like talk more. And then subject is all over, like history, like, of course, like composition and like acoustic things or critique or even like, something like space or like a history, whole subject.
He was a very refined man that had a vast knowledge of our world.
That's right. And
Well,
then sorry.
Oh no. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can talk because I.
Oh no, I was gonna say just kind of sticking upon on that subject. With Ifukube-san being a very philosophical man, like what were some of the most interesting philosophies that you heard at his seminars? As far as you were just going into like he could talk about anything from musical composition to space. So,
That's right.
Do you have anything that you really took that kind of sticks out to you from that?
Yeah, because he talking all different subject, but it's really he can using that different subject to talk composition. So that is amazing. So like for example, like he talking about some tea ceremony, and then I was very curious why he talking about the tea ceremony. But there are some manner of the tea ceremony when people come late for that event. They don't come directly into the room because they're going to break that atmosphere. So then what they do is like, they open that small entrance, just a little bit, and then just show I'm here and close the door. And again, after that, several minutes open widely and they come in very quietly. And that way, never bother the atmosphere, already it's going to be there. So then using that one, he talking about how to make the new theme or new material to the composition. So cannot put in directly. So that's really breaking the previous composition. So then he had to say, okay, so you can use that motif this way, that way. So that's not to bother this way, like this. So he using all subject to connecting some music things. So composition or some performance. So that was amazing. Since he has a huge knowledge, he can use all subject to talk to the music or something more important about the beauty of the art, something like that. So that was amazing.
So he would sort of take these different ideas, and did you see him sort of apply this to his own composition, like what you were just describing with the tea ceremony? Like that may seem sort of abstract to some people, but I'm sure Mr. Ifukube, just being the kind of composer that he was, maybe if he's writing a piece of music, he might draw from that, or he might draw from sort of these other areas of his philosophy. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and actually, some composer does like play the theme by piano and put in music stuff, right? He never does. He putting like very plain paper, and then he making the 5 line himself.
Oh yeah, he would trace some. He would
and he put some motif, and in a big paper. And then when he is thinking in head, and then he organize everything. And then when he settle, okay, I'm going to use this theme here or this one and the structure like this. And then finally he put in the music.
And
that's
then orchestration comes later then after that?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. That's right. So then, and also behind those technique to write down like orchestration, I think he has huge knowledge, even structure of the sonata form. For example, he didn't use the sonata form, but he said like, in Japan, we have the Japanese traditional music, how do you say, like original instrument music, like using for some festival in a shrine. But that's music using sonata form, he said.
Oh, really?
So that's me, Japan using the sonata form before in Europe started like sonata form, that he said.
Oh, how interesting.
So those things. So that's why I think he has a lot of knowledge to make his composition, not only after some skill he get from the Western approach. I think also he studied, Western, of course, way, but, he has so many things to combine together.
But he had this really amazing gift of using Western instruments and making them sound as if they were like either traditional, like sort of like in the original Godzilla, the Kagura music sounds. It's a harp, a timpani drum,
that's right,
a flute, and is it the biangu, like the ta 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 ta? So that's the only real like exotic instrument.
That's right,
so to speak. But it's amazing that he knew how to kind of just adapt Western instruments and make them sound as if they were traditional.
That's right. And my knowledge, I think, since he worked for the movie music, all the time they have the recording session using like real orchestra, and he was conducting. I think he experimented a lot of different way. That's why he knows, like, for example, like he wrote like orchestration dictionary, right?
I was going to ask you about that next, actually.
Yeah. That one is like, said if using woodwind, brass together have this effect. But if you have one more strings coming, it make this effect. He knows that so many combinations make big difference. And also he said ictus. Ictus mean, it's mean like, in a meter doesn't tell the differences, but feel or some affecting is big change, how to create the instrumentation.
Communication to the instrumentalist, yes.
That's right. And then he, I think, get the idea from his experience, because he was recording with a real orchestra for the movie music. And then immediately he finds something that he could change. And then, for example, okay, could you play that line? Not oboe, maybe instead of oboe, clarinet, could you do that one? Maybe he did like that. So then he has like real experiment, what instruments come together, make what sounds. And I think those experience give him so many, knowledge also, not only by study or on a paper. I think by hearing or it's real sound, what's happening.
And the book Orchestration, his book Orchestration is still used today. It's a widely used book for students in Japan, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and it's very popular. I've talked to so many Japanese musicians and composers that have said that they use this book. It's like a Japanese composer's Bible. Now, in the seminars, Reiko, speaking of movie music, did Maestro Ifukube speak very often about his experiences making film music? In particular, did he talk about Kaiju musical scores in his seminar?
Yeah, actually, no. I don't know it's often or not, but I had many time, story behind, scene, like, how performer plays a piece, or what situation was recording session, or many things. And also one day he said, like, for the movie fan, Godzilla fan was he said they have incredible ear, because many people are asking, oh, Maestro Ifukube, why using that scene to the another, kaiju movie, such as this scene, using same, type of that scene, how you change it, or what mean, why you change it. But he said, I don't remember. He wrote too much music on that, But those people know everything, like, this scene changed a little bit for this movie. That's where, like, he was like really kind of, amazed, like, oh, I didn't realize, but they know better than me, he said.
Yeah. Well, yes. Godzilla, the kaiju otaku know all of this very, very well. What were for you as a pianist? Obviously, you were attending a composition seminar, and you were a piano student. As a pianist, for you, what was the most important knowledge or lesson that you learned in his composition seminar that helped you as a performer?
Yes, actually, honestly, in that time, I was every time, like, open eye, like, every time when I attend his class, everything kind of, surprise, or, open my eye, like, but I now using more, or I more appreciate after I came to United States, or start playing in the orchestra, or I start playing the piano more professionally. And then now I feel like, oh, that time he said that one, it is. So kind of realize now much more. In that time, I still appreciate, but I didn't really know how much important, or how I can use that philosophy or skill to my performance. So that time, but kind of, I was really shocked, kind of open-eyed, that right note everything. And then that things, really help now for the real world.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, because I know I've had many conversations with you, and you've talked a lot about how his teachings and his philosophies have influenced your own career. Now, after you graduated from the Tokyo College of Music eventually, and then you came to Chicago, and you did a master's degree in Chicago in piano performance, correct?
Yes, that's right. Chicago Music College at the Roosevelt University.
Yes, at Roosevelt University. And then now that you had moved to the United States, you started becoming active in performing in the American music scene. And could you talk a little bit about how you got involved with the Kalamazoo Symphony? Because that's where you currently are the principal keyboard and have been for many years. So how did you get involved with Kalamazoo Symphony?
Yeah, it's interesting because why I came this country, because I like to study the pedagogy. Because when I was in Japan, I assistant the lot of professor from the Tokyo Music College. So then I have really advanced student to teach, but I really wanna make my backbone strong, and I really like to come next stage to teach student more properly way. So then that time I just have a chance to come to United States. Then I met a friend who studied with Dr. Lazar. She was in Chicago College of Music.
Mhm.
And then I heard about the pedagogy, and I thought so maybe it's good for me. And I took audition. I sent a letter to her and then sent audition tape. And then I could get a little bit scholarship and then came to United States. But when I come to this country, that pedagogy class was great, but it's a little bit different designed from I thought.
Mhm.
Because I already have my own idea about technique and everything, but that pedagogy is more like more educational way
Yeah.
to finding the music material or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was shocked because I stopped I give my all student to my friend pianist, and I quit all job in Japan and I came to United States. But in fact, that was is not I thought. And then I have no way to come back to Japan because I,
Mhm.
cut off everything before I came. Then I was so really, kind of, kind of not upset, but kind of lost. Oh my goodness, what I do, Then that time there are so many good strings player from who study in a civic orchestra. She's a member of the civic orchestra.
Of Chicago.
And they said, they said, Reiko, you there are audition for pianist too. And I said, really? And then, since I was really, I really liked, orchestra pieces, maybe more than piano piece.
Oh.
Then, I thought, oh, wow, that's really good news. Then I took audition. But that was the first time I challenging for the audition for the orchestra player. I don't know how to do, but there are so many Stravinsky, Bartok, Prokofiev, so many difficult pieces, and even I couldn't get in tempo.
Oh,
And
really?
almost audition days coming, and I thought, oh, maybe I had to, cancel because I cannot play. But fortunately, that judge had some conflict, and they asked me to come week later.
Oh,
And
wow.
I said, yes, maybe can do it. And work hard. And the 2 days before that audition, I could play in tempo.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was great. And I made that civic orchestra, first time third chair. And they have every year audition. And the next year, second chair. Third year, still second chair. And then finally, fourth year, I get first chair as a principal.
Oh, excellent.
But yeah, since I study in a civic orchestra for 3 years, I play as a secondary. So usually I play celesta part, little bit easier than piano main part.
Mhm.
Then, but I know how difficult for the piano part. Then since I find it, I'm going to be principal for the civic orchestra. And I thought, oh, I had to work so hard. And then I had to do something challenge. And at that time, Kalamazoo Symphony had an opening for the audition. So then I thought, I didn't think about, become the member, but I thought I had to take that audition and get best play there. So that maybe it's really good experience for the preparation for the principal of the civic orchestra.
Well,
Okay.
it's sort of funny that you talked about the difficulty of the composers that you mentioned, because when we were at your house last 2 years ago and you showed me the music for Ritmica Ostinata, I couldn't believe like some of those the time signatures and the meters in there. So I have to ask you, Reiko, in 2005, when you were preparing to perform Ritmica Ostinata for the first time, tell us about that, because that is a difficult piece to perform, and you're sort of like you're like the person when it comes to performing Ritmica Ostinata in the world, really. So,
No, thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you.
so
I appreciate it.
But what was that
Yeah,
like for a difficult piece like that that's so physical? Tell us about that.
yeah. Well, first of all, I was give up to play that piece for a long time ago because think it was too much for me, and then my technique is not enough to play. But after I came to United States, I start thinking about my uh, identity because living in a different country, and also I was thinking what I should do as a Japanese living in United States, what I can do. Like I was start thinking very seriously about identity or what's my goal to achieve. Then that time I got car accident, and then it was very bad accident. I was in intensive care unit 11 days, and then 5 day or 6 day coma. So then, yeah, I almost died. So then,
Oh,
but
not good.
after that experience, it takes while to even first time I couldn't stand up myself.
For
But
rehabilitation, just to be able
yeah,
to.
that's right.
Yeah.
But through that experience, I just feel like how grateful I'm living here, and then also change my little bit conception about life or many things I changed. And I thought, I really want to, also I feel like that time I really need to play Ikube's piece now. Somehow I really felt that way. So that I must play Ikube's piece now. Then that time, interesting, one of my friends, conductor, has a small orchestra, and he said he really liked to play the Ritmica Ostinata. And do you know someone good pianist? And I introduced my friend pianist because I thought I'm not enough,
You didn't think.
Yeah, but that time she said no, not interested in that piece. And then I asked Japanese friend, but nobody. They said, "Oh, that's good, maybe it's good. I can do it very easily." So they didn't think really serious about that piece. And then that time I heard some CD, somebody playing the Ritmica Ostinata, but that one is totally different from my idea about that piece. And I just feel like, anyway, I don't know, I have a chance to play or not, but I had to do something, with his conception.
Well,
I had to play his piece as he wants.
okay, because I was going to ask that next. As far as your conception of Rhythmica Ostinata, what do you think? What do you think kind of aligns your interpretation of that music with Mr. Ifukube as opposed to other interpretations that you heard prior to that?
Yeah, actually, he wrote that piece when he had a very hard time. People were really bending him, so he couldn't, introduce his piece at all. But he never changed his way to composition. And at that time, he wrote Ritmica, take off all, make the really simplicity. So she tried to simplify, and then it really directly come to the energy of the music and the soul of the Japanese kind of or people. So that piece, like when I play that piece, now it's a little bit different because I play many times. But the first time, it's almost like I don't know how much I can play or how I play. But every time I just focusing the right now what I playing. Then if I really focusing what he wrote, even single forte, sign, or accent, or tenuto, each small things what he wrote, I just try to be really precise.
Precise.
Yeah, and precise what he wrote in the music. And I just follow. I don't put any my feeling or something. But if I do that, it's finally I come to very big place. Like I think he wrote in Ritmica Ostinata book, like he using the quote of Leonardo da Vinci.
Mhm.
Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So then, like, you know, if you, I don't remember the English. Do you know, Eric, do you remember the
Yes.
word?
So force lives from
Yeah.
restriction and dies from liberty.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly like, you know, I don't need to be forced. I just like really, you know, make the strict what he wrote, what he think, just focusing that, and then finally come to really, really big place. And then my inside soul or touching the energy directly, like,
Well,
yeah.
Reiko, like when you sort of decided you were going to perform Ritmica Ostinata, how long did it really take you to get to a place with that piece where you felt comfortable enough to perform it in front of an audience?
Good question. Because as I said, I try to be like each single note to be precise. Usually, other piece I kind of practice and kind of know the whole picture. And then, oh, this part is difficult. I'm practice here, or this practice here. The make tempo little by faster like that. But rhythmic consonant is different. I just like really precise practice slowly, but it's precise what he wrote, and they already memorized up to there. And a little by little, I include the measure. Then I asked my friend to play the second piano, and I practice with her. And I played a small concert or some open rehearsal, many experience. And I find it what part I need work more or what part I had to fix. And actually, I made two pianos concert in Roosevelt. Then I made a CD, actually, personal CD, actually, recording. And I sent to the Ifukube, actually. But when I sent that one, his health was really get down. And then I don't know he listened or not, but it was his house. I saw it. My CD was. But like that, I was really working. Then maybe takes almost a year to get like really playing the tempo.
So very, very difficult pieces. John mentioned a lot of very difficult meters and time signatures, and it's also a very physical piece. You have to have a lot of strength to be able to keep up with the music. Really, it's a very physical piece. Now, in 2005, you were preparing to perform the piece in 2006 with the Tochigi-ken Symphony Orchestra. And you visited Maestro Ifukube at his home in late 2005 to prepare for your concert with Tochigi-ken Orchestra. I know you said that his health was not so good at the time. He was 90 years old at the time, or no, actually he was already 91, and he was very frail. Can you talk a little bit about meeting him at his home to discuss performing Ritmica Ostinata?
Yeah, actually, usually he dressed very well when I visited him, but he was wearing kind of jinbei. It's a little bit,
Yes.
home, yeah, nice. And then, but he wearing very nice scarf, so it was very nice. And but he said, "Oh, like I'm sorry, since I get a little bit weak, and I try to be, more relaxed. So then I wear this jinbei today, but please excuse." He was just said that, but still he making tea for me, and then it was so nice. And then I have ton of question because some music has some how to say, like misprint, or I find so many like misprint or misnote. And I really want to make sure everything, but I thought, it's too much for him. Then this is important, but it's not waste of time for those things, to ask. I really like to ask more important question. So then I try to not ask those small questions, but I ask him about a particular part for the, like glissando things or first theme and then second half coming same exactly same entrance play. He changed a little bit, mark. And I thought he did purposely or it's happened from the misprint. Those things, like I asked some question like that. And
So
then he, yeah.
No, so I was going to say, so you were asking him, what you were attempting to do is make sure that the notes were correct in the copy of the score that you had, because you wanted to be very careful to play exactly the right notes, correct?
Yeah, but same time, I cannot ask everything because it's too much for him to hold a small question. So then, but I ask him more like timing wise, or some part I really don't know how to make the timing, or I don't know, so many, and also some funny.
Are you talking about like dynamics of performance and things of that nature as well?
Yeah, and also I told him this part I didn't want to do this way, but it's not working well. And then what should I do, or do you have any idea? And then interesting, like you, both of you know, Ifukube think like composition, if it's finished, it stands music itself. So that means he doesn't want to tell. So he said, "No, Reiko, you can do whatever you like. It's music is already, yeah."
Yeah. So what Reiko's saying is that Ifukube, he said, once a piece of music was composed, it's almost like a child. It goes out into the world and it has its own life. So he was not particularly. For him, it wasn't important to dictate to performers like Reiko, you must perform it this way, or you must do this, or you must do this. His philosophy was, here's the piece of music, here's my music, please do with it what you will. It now takes on a life of its own in your hands as the performer.
Yeah, in fact, when I study deeply, I can answer myself, which, like I have 2 piano version book, and from orchestra, that's solo part, and they have several differences, but I can tell which one is right, or this one should be tenuto, or this one should be accent. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to come to the next one. After study, it's very, interesting. I could answer myself. But anyway, when I talked to him, he didn't say anything, what should I do? He said, Reiko, you can play whatever you like. But good things, I really want to know something. And after I ask question to him, every time he bring out some example story or some interesting technique or book. But that one he's giving me the hint. So then after he talking about that book, or, Reiko, by the way, I read some Russian composers, book. And he said about glissando, and he using this glissando, that glissando, like for example. And then input in my heart. And after I came back, I tried both way. And I find it, solution. What should I do in the, glissando?
And what is your favorite way to do a glissando? Like, how did you arrive on that?
Usually, for the classical, this one.
Like that? Yeah.
But, for the Ifukube, especially last heavy, strong one, use some.
Okay.
Then that way some, and then that way I can do immediately, boom, hit the harmony. Got it. Instead of this one, it's already lose the energy. But this one directly comes this way. So that's actually learned from Ikube's example.
Wow, so that little gesture was directly from him. That's amazing. So you did record, well, you performed the Ritmica Ostinata finally with Tochigi-ken in 2006. I think it was April 2006, if I'm not mistaken. It was
It was May
May.
or
Okay.
June.
Okay,
June,
so
May, June, yeah.
okay, so a little bit
Because
later.
yeah, after he died, after 3 months, I think.
Yeah,
So,
because he passed away.
yeah,
February of
in
2006.
February of
Yeah.
2006. So I imagine when you performed Ritmica Ostinata, it must have been like your tribute to him. I imagine.
Yeah, it was very special actually. It's very difficult piece to play for orchestra too. So then Tochigi-ken Symphony played pretty good, but of course it's difficult. And in rehearsals, sometimes it's not go well or it's not strong enough. Some part I felt, but I never feel like going to be not good. I feel really strongly about to play his piece best way, So then in the concert day, everybody was really strong, and definitely we feel the kind of Ikube's spiritual in that hall, and then I really feel like everybody feel like in like one unit get together. So it was very, very special moment.
Well, Reiko, just kind of to go off of what you were just saying, because we've been talking about the strength of the piece, and so you've sort of talked to us before about the fact that you kind of have to train a little bit. You have to you have to get strong to play Ritmica Ostinata. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do to prepare for a piece that's that physical?
Yeah, because before you ask me how long it takes time, because I feel like difficult to answer, because to play really good, maybe it takes like whole year, maybe more than that. Because like you said, when I start playing that piece, and then eventually I could play in tempo almost, then I find it, my technique is not enough, or my body is not strong enough for that piece. And then also piano is not, maybe if I practicing heavy piano, I might be broke my hand or, injured.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because it has to be many times,
Have you ever broken a piano though? No pianos got broken?
No. But I thought maybe I might be, the tendonitis or something, going to be problem. Then two things I did, like you mentioned. I met a trainer. He is Ichiro's baseball player.
Yeah.
Ichiro's trainer.
Ichiro Suzuki.
And he made very special machine. Yeah. And then since I do the hobby as EI, the master of the EI in Japan, he knows that Ichiro's trainer. And then when I talked to him, he introduced me to that Ichiro's trainer. And I was so excited. And actually, I just go Japan and I went to his, gym.
Facility, yeah,
and,
gym, training facility.
And I made a 10-day camp. 10-day camp I went.
So you were
like a boot camp, essentially.
Yeah,
wow.
that's a boot camp.
You have to go to boot camp to play this piece. This is incredible.
Then they have special machine, and that really gives the strength and the flexibility on the back, that part, and it gives a nice muscle, soft muscle. And also it's get strength to support myself. So it was really good. After that, when I back to Japan, I go that gym first. 5-day camp.
So
then,
I guess when you play Ritmica Ostinata, you really want to sit up straight. You don't want to be hunched over. You got to be real strong back muscles and.
Yes, and more relaxation. And actually, I'm using totally different technique from the classical play. And in fact, actually, when find it I can play with Tochigi Symphony Orchestra. After that, I never played the other classical piece at all till finish up that concert. I was really focusing.
That was it.
So,
And one thing, yeah,
okay,
sorry.
no,
And
please go ahead, Reiko.
one thing is very interesting. During I have that boot camp, I find it Mr. Ikube's temple, grave, shrine was just 10 minutes away from
Is that in Totori? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Yes. So I actually asked the trainer, so do you know about that Ube shrine? So then he said, yeah, you can go, by taxi very, very close. And then it's very interesting. It happened. So I just during that session, in a lunchtime break, I use taxi to get that shrine, and I see all his ancestors' grave, and I just pray for them, everybody.
Yeah, the Ifukube family, it's very well known that Ifukube himself grew up in Hokkaido, but the Ifukube family actually is from originally from the Totori region in western Japan. And he comes from a long line of Shinto priests in this region, and there is a shrine there called the Ube Shrine, which is considered to be one of the oldest shrines in Japan, and that's what Reiko was saying, that all of his ancestors are buried there, as well as his grave is at that shrine. Reiko, in 2008, you released your first CD. So aside from being a performer in live concerts, Reiko has also recorded quite a few CDs of Ifukube's music, primarily for piano. And in 2008, Reiko, with the assistance of the composer's estate, released her first CD, which was Akira Ifukube Works for Piano Volume 1. And this CD featured the performance of Ritmica Ostinata that she was mentioning, but it also included some other pieces of music, Piano Suite, which was the composer's first composition in 1933. Also a piece of music for violin and piano called Two Characters for violin and piano, and then a two piano arrangement of music from a ballet that he wrote in 1950 called Fire of Prometheus. Reiko, can you talk a little bit about producing this CD, and also how was the CD, what was the reaction to the CD in Japan?
Yeah, actually, I was really lucky because first time I don't know how to make the CD. And then that time I met Deguchi. He already had a CD. And I asked him, do you know how to do? And then that time he was helping the Kirami to clean for his Akira Ikube's belonging after he passed away. So then actually they find so many music, it's not, in the public yet. And then he find a violin piano that's two characters sings, and also ballets for two pianos like that. So that's I didn't ask Kirami directly, but Kirami also find it, and I'm thinking to make some CD. So then he asked me who I'm interested in to put that music to my CD. So that was really lucky. And then, after recording, and then it was also Kirami's helping to give me the music or some support. It was really good. And then after made CD, it was very good because I got a lot of nice review, and then also gadgets, record gadgets. That means Japanese recording magazine.
Yeah, it's a magazine that's about recorded music in Japan. That's very well.
So every month they going to pick up like several top favorite recommended CD, and then my CD was selected for that. So it was really honored. And also, my CD was a week the bestseller in Tower Record in Japan for the contemporary music section. So it's I never expected that things happen. I was so surprised, but I really happy because I could introduce Ikube's pieces. So it was it's an amazing experience.
Reiko, so I just wanted to sort of ask, you were around the composer and his wife, and sort of his circle of composer friends. What was it like to be in the house and be around Ifukube when he would have sort of these gatherings and have his circle of composer friends around, and just to hear them kind of talk and just to observe like sort of them each go over their different philosophies about music? What was that like?
Yeah, actually, every year in New Year's, like January 2nd, his student come to his house to celebrate New Year and then to greeting him. And then interesting, because we are very, that time I was still student and youngest kind of. But many famous ones like Maizumi, Toshiro Maizumi, or so many,
Manabe Riichiro.
Manabe, and everybody came. And everybody, first time we come early and very close sitting to Mr. Ifukube. But if somebody, oldest one come, we come, back. And finally, like me, I'm not like composition student. Every time I go to back room with and every time so nice to me, like, Reiko, you come here, we can gathering on just women here, like, And then
Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so then everybody like really happy to talk to Ifukube, so.
Well, I was gonna say, so what was I like as a personality, and how did you and her get along?
She's a so cute person, and she's really dedicated her life to the Ifukube. And I know she said, she every single morning she wake up, of course, before him, and they clean his desk, composition desk, every single morning. So then also she's really sharp. She can say anything, without afraid. So then sometimes she complain about, some like Toshiro Maizumi or something like that. One time they kind of left Ifukube because I think, her composition, some different idea, sort of, period. And she still complain about those things, like, to us. Oh, that time, I was so upset because they left him, like, but, every time Ifukube said, no, don't say that. Like, and every time, like, Ifukube was very calm. And then I was really, like, young girl, like, really pretty and honest and really work hard for him. And she cook everything for his student, everything, like when they're visiting him. So she's a very hard worker and a dedicated life for him.
Oh, great. So obviously your experiences with Ifukube and his family and the circle of composers that John mentioned, you had such wonderful experiences with them, and all of these experiences, I'm sure you channel, you incorporate into your performances to really give an authentic performance of Mr. Ifukube's art. And as you mentioned, your first CD was a big success, and you went on to record several other CDs, and we're going to include, for Kaiju Masterclass viewers, we're going to include all of the information about these CDs if you want to look for them. I highly recommend it if you like.
In the link below, that's what you'll see.
In the link below.
Thank you.
This is music.
You're so nice.
This is music that if you are a big fan of his Kaiju scores, you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't know about classical music or concert music. Trust me, if you like his concert scores, they're every bit as exciting as the scores that we are also familiar with in
and we get to hear a lot of origins of some famous themes in those early works.
No, that's true, John.
Oh,
A lot of the themes that we know from kaiju films actually originate in the classical pieces. Reiko, I wanted to ask you, speaking about Ifukube, because I know you and I have talked, and you have said that you don't make any separation between music in kaiju films and his normal style. His style is always the same, if it's a concert composition or if it's in a Godzilla movie or if it's in a kaiju film. What do you think are some of the most unique or outstanding aspects of Mr. Ifukube's style? What do you think makes his music his music?
Yeah, because he has huge knowledge, and then he tried to be the best way create music for that purpose. For example, like simple music, like artistic music, concert music, and then movie or dance music. Every music has different role and then importance. So then even he think, maybe he like to write this way or use this music or this kind of pattern. But if it's in a movie, he really needs to think about, what's the situation for the story-wise or character-wise. Even like what's a Godzilla? Godzilla is just like big, huge, Kaiju. It's not only that. His Godzilla has a history, like with a nuclear or some what kind of race, like what origin,
Mm-hmm.
like more look like more bird or
Like an
ancient
ancient creature,
yeah.
very of the
Yeah.
earth, very sort of
So then he's thinking about that situation, and then if story is just fighting with Godzilla or more than that fighting, so Godzilla's role, or even every movie has different. Sometimes Godzilla is more helping the people, and sometimes it's like really enemy. Like every time different, and then he even using same theme, but definitely I believe he using different way to combine together. Those parts, I think it's interesting because he changing the way, but he never changed the center of the thinking or true of the message, what he wanna say. So that one, it's in everywhere, even in his book he wrote, or in classical, how do you say, orchestra piece, or dance music, everything different. But he tried to like using best way to compose music.
Well, I was going to ask because obviously I think it seems like he sort of fancied himself to be a classical composer first and foremost, but obviously his way of life and his sort of the life that he had was made from his film music. So is it safe to say that despite the fact that maybe he took his classical music more seriously, that he still approached it with the same honesty and earnestness as far as composition?
Yeah, definitely. I think he faced to the music every time really honesty and then really 100%. But like I said, for the concert music, he doesn't need to worry about another things like what the story or what the situation, what need for.
It's his story.
Sometimes,
It's what he's telling with his music.
Yeah, but for the movie, he had to think about even other movie, not the kaiju movie. Like if two people come here, but it look happy, but what's happening later? how to use this music. It's not only happy. How to something, gives a sign for the story, what will happen next, like this.
Like in Zatoichi or like things of that
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah. So then, or even some he wrote first movie like what?
Snow
Ginga no
Trail?
Hate?
Ginere no Hate.
Yeah.
Was that Snow Trail, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Ginere no Hate.
Because he fight with the director about music.
Was that Senkichi Taniguchi?
Taniguchi, yes. Yes.
Yeah, because he liked to, put, very nice, happy music for that couple skiing, because only that movie has a happy moment there. And then obviously their couple is happy, play, skiing together. But he really wanna create there what happened coming next, and then what, in a big nature, and then human small thinking. It's the contrast. And he tried to make really simple music, like this. So,
Well, Reiko, just on that topic really quickly, do you have sort of an opinion as to why he only worked once with Akira Kurosawa?
I think, I don't know. I didn't ask him directly, but my opinion, I think Akira Kurosawa has more very strong his idea,
Yes.
and he might be directing him. Oh, you should stop music here, or you should write piano. I need this kind of music here, or I really want to do this, and please do it. But that's limitation. I think doesn't work his style, because he also thinking about whole picture of the movie, and he know what's the best way to use music to support movie going well. But I think Kurosawa is more perfectionist himself, includes the music.
And that makes a lot of sense, because Ishiro Honda, I think the famous quote was something along the lines of, he said to Ifukube, "I know nothing about music. It's all for you." But Ifukube would say that Ishiro Honda knew a lot about music, but he just let him do his thing. Maybe that's why their relationship was so fruitful.
Yeah, I think that's why even he knows the music, and he might be, that director might be said to Ifukube, how about to do this or that one? But maybe never said this one must be here or this one must be. But I think Kurosawa has more strict kind of, his plan.
Oh, yes.
And everybody had to obey that plan, I
Well,
think.
of course they did, because they called him Kurosawa Tenno. So Emperor Kurosawa. So you didn't want to go against his ideas, but Ifukube did. They actually, because they did the film, The Quiet
Duel,
Shizuka Neru Ketto. And pardon my bad Japanese pronunciation, but they scored one film where Kurosawa was the director, and they had a good relationship professionally, but I think artistically, it was hard for them. Now, going back to kaiju music, Reiko, why do you think that Ifukube's music fits so perfectly with kaiju film? Of course, I have my own ideas. Many people say that Ifukube's kaiju music is like, it's perfect. It's the perfect representation musically of giant monsters like Godzilla. So in your opinion, Reiko, why do you think Ifukube's style works so well with Daikaiju Eiga?
I think in that time, in Japan, many people doesn't know about composition, like Stravinsky, Prokofiev, like heavy, like Russian music style before that kaiju. But Ifukube was really head about knowing the Western music, and even Tokyo still they only know the Beethoven, Mozart, those kind of German classical style. But he already ordered the music from Europe directly, and they get Stravinsky or some Rimsky-Korsakov, so many different type of the thick orchestration music.
Yeah.
And I think he got already some knowledge about orchestration. and he built up his style to more thick music. And also he was in Hokkaido, living in a mountain because he was working as a
Forest ranger.
Host, yeah. So then I think he living that place himself, and he felt how nature power is huge and strong that human cannot control at all. And that somehow, like Kaiju is like out of control of the people. And then that scale, I think normal people can get it because we living the very normal life. We never had that kind of experience. But he had experience is that big nature, like heavy snow or big tree or some very strong nature.
Typhoon.
Yeah, that's right. And I think those kind of experience create him more idea about very strong energy. And also same time, like everything like nature is not like human, but they have like kind of a spiritual soul, some very important, energy itself. So then I think those kind of, match when he tried to make something like Kaiju, which is like fiction, but it could be, that's like really humans, we can think about it. Like, we cannot get the experience, but it could be like something very big power. We cannot get it, So I think those things, he had experience himself for that big nature that is over how to say over the control, and then also he has orchestration from like Stravinsky or some Russian very thick and rhythmic, powerful music. So that I think those combination made very special about his composition. And also he, like I said, he's thinking about whole picture of the movie, and he using not only music for the just effect, more inside energy, soul, everything. So that's really give to the life to the Daikaiju, which is like fiction, but give the life in there through his music. That I thought.
Well, Reiko, I'm gonna just ask you an otaku question. Do you have a favorite Daikaiju Eiga? Do you have a favorite kaiju movie that you've seen?
Actually, very funny. I said, I never know about the Ifukube till I go to the Tokyo College, but I looked Godzilla movie, and I didn't know that was Ikube's composition. And I see the Daimajin, and I didn't know that was Ikube. And in the school, they have like a movie day, and they put the Biruma
Biruma no Tategoto.
Tategoto. That was, I cried hard. It was very painful, and I remember
which for our viewers, we're talking about the film The Burmese Harp. Sorry, Reiko.
Yeah. So then, actually, I already, heard his music before I know him. Then I think, first Godzilla was, I think outstanding. And every time after I saw that movie, I have very nightmare, dream. Every time in the Nikko, in the front of the mountain, Godzilla come up and it was really scary.
That was a pretty good Godzilla roar right there. That was a good roar.
So I think that was best. And after I said, I remember that song. I like Mothra. And
yes.
But that's, Godzilla. That's why I liked it. Those two I remember very well. And maybe a little bit King Ghidorah.
I remember, speaking of King Ghidorah, I remember I was in Tokyo with you, Reiko, and we were with Kiwami-san, Ifukube's son. And I was asking Ifukube, or I was asking Kiwami, I said to Kiwami, I said, I imagine that Godzilla is your father's number one, Ichiban, favorite monster, but who's his second favorite monster? And Kiwami said, my father really liked King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
That was after Godzilla, King Ghidorah was the second.
That's a very powerful theme, so I could buy that. That's one of I mean, yeah, that's probably his second most recognizable. Either King Ghidorah or Rodan, like those are his probably I'd say the second and third most recognizable themes. Wouldn't you say, Eric?
I remember Rodan.
Oh yeah. See, we're otaku, so we know this stuff very well. We're very, very tuned in. Reiko, I see the piano behind you. If would you mind quietly, because it's late at night, but one of the Reiko was talking about the instrumental effects in Ifukube's music, not just in concert scores, but especially in kaiju music. Ifukube uses a lot of piano, and Ifukube likes to use the piano not just as a melody instrument, but as a percussion instrument, because technically a piano is a percussion instrument. And one of the techniques that Mr. Ifukube really liked using to illustrate monstrous sounds are the technique of tone clusters. Reiko, can you talk a little bit about what a tone cluster is and how they would use them in his music?
Yeah, tone cluster is like, using all key together, but, hand is not enough. So using the arm, and then one hand for the white key, one hand for the black key, and play together. That's mostly he using.
But way heavier.
Yeah.
That's the way he does it, way heavier.
Yeah. But usually what I do, like, using body weight. I don't do big trades already with weight, so then do like this. But also, like, very quick, he using, like, mark, like, has a 3 kind of line. That's why you like here.
Like palm, right?
Like that, yeah. Like tum pam pam tum pam tum pam pam tum pam, like, or playing that. Like maybe that's 3 he used often.
Yeah, you hear it all the time.
And I've seen that notation in his music where like it's kind of like the 3 3 lines, and usually says like palma, like or
that's
something in there.
That's why using that part and the play, and then like.
So essentially what Ifukube is doing is he's having his pianist smash down on the keys of the pianos to create these very shocking, loud, highly dissonant noises, and it just works so well for kaiju films, because whenever I hear those in the music, it reminds me of the big footsteps of the monster, or perhaps even just the sound of steel bending and concrete breaking apart in a building or something like that. It's just it's very effective, very effective.
That's right. But very interesting. He using so kind of an interesting technique. So
yeah, and that's one of them. So just for our viewers out there, next time you listen to your favorite Godzilla or kaiju score, see if you can, put your ear close and see if you can hear the pianist in the background smashing away at the piano. Once you hear it, you can't unhear it, I don't think.
I also like just going off the 54, the original score to Godzilla in 1954, when he did the syncing of the Eiko Maru and the Bingo Maru, he sort of raked the in the harp of the piano like the like and you can kind of hear, and I think that's accompanied by one of the Gomidi, I guess you would say, right? Gomidi.
Yeah, that's right.
That's one that people, if you want to hear exactly what we're talking about, you can listen to the original Godzilla soundtrack, and you'll hear it pretty much in the first couple tracks.
In fact, speaking of that, Reiko, I remember you told me a story from Godzilla versus Destroyer, Gojira Tai Destroyer, from Mr. Satoshi Imai, who is a conductor. Do you remember the story about the 5 yen coin on the
that's what he said, right? Yeah.
Can you tell that story? You remember it?
I don't remember well. I think you remember better.
Okay, well, I remember Reiko telling me this story because this story was given to Reiko by Mr. Satoshi Imai, who at the time, during the Heisei Godzilla scores, was Ifukube's personal secretary. And Mr. Ifukube, for those scores, would actually conduct the rehearsals. But when it came for the actual recordings to happen, it was Mr. Imai conducting. So what you hear on the soundtracks is Mr. Imai. Well, when they were recording the score for Godzilla vs. Destroyer, before the big requiem, the death scene, you hear a glissando on the harp of the piano. You know, it's a very deep kind of rumbly glissando, and it's a coin that is dragged across the inside of the piano there on the strings. And originally they were looking for a coin to use, and this is straight from Mr. Imai. This was during the recording session. I think they used a 1 yen coin or something like that, and they dragged it across the strings, and the sound was okay, but it just wasn't deep enough. So then they got a 5 yen coin, which is bigger and thicker, and they used that, and they dragged that across the strings. That created a much nicer, fuller sound. Mr. Ifukube said, well, that's the difference between 1 yen and 5 yen.
Yeah. Ifukube is, very, humor. He has very nice humor.
Reiko, what are you working on right now musically? What do you have coming up?
I know it would be 100 yen and 500 yen. I'm sorry, I had that wrong, but it's the difference between 100 yen and 500 yen. Yes.
100 yen and 500 yen.
Yeah.
So, so Reiko, you just finished up a series of concerts in Kalamazoo, correct? And I guess maybe now you have a little bit of time to rest. I don't know, but what do you have going on right now? What are you working on?
Yeah, actually, orchestra. Still, every 2 weeks I have a concert till December.
Oh, okay. So, Reiko, obviously, we all love Mr. Ifukube's music. Each of us has sort of tried to promote his music in different ways. And why do you think it is so important to keep promoting Mr. Ifukube's music and to make sure that future generations of composers and musicians are able to just enjoy what he had to offer and appreciate the fact that he was such a unique voice in music?
Yeah, I think, like you said, for his music, doesn't matter it's movie or dance or like, just for the concert piece. I think every piece he wrote has really important message behind the music that's really connecting to the soul, spiritual, or something very important as a human. So that's why I think everybody can enjoy his music its own way, best way. And then for myself, maybe I wrote to the Eric's interview, I think, for your website. So I said, like, no, I will be always my great master, mentor, my mentor, talking about Mr. Ifukube, so then his wisdom will be my very important guidance to have my way to be a better musician and human. So I think, I learned so many things from his class and his philosophy as a musician, but not only for the musician, but as a human. So how to approach the things to find out the truth of that things, like center. And also very important to connect to the soul or spiritual. And if people had all those kind of, awareness, I think, in the world it could be much, peaceful. That I think.
It's a beautiful message, and I definitely feel a great human soul and a great human creativity in his music that is just so appealing to me. It's so appealing to John and to everybody who loves kaiju films, really. I mean, his music in those films is so iconic, and it connects with all of us in such a deep way. So it's just been really great, Reiko, to talk to you today and learn about your
Thank
experiences
you.
with Mr. Ifukube and for sharing your
Yeah.
ideas about his music with us.
Thank you. And also, I really thank you, Eric and John, that I met you. I learned so many things from you and it really inspire me. So I really appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Reiko, I think the biggest inspiration has come from you, and it's always been a pleasure every time that we're able to talk with you about Mr. Ifukube. It's always been a pleasure to be in your home, and this was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For taking the time to be with us.
Oh, my pleasure. And hopefully we can get together again to my home.
Soon enough. We will.
Yes.
I will bring the Giordano's pizza.
Okay.
Chicago pizza, you know.
Sounds great. Okay.
Thank you, Reiko. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Yeah, have a great night and good week.
Thanks, Reiko.
Bye. Thank you. And I give you the good one. Mr. Ifukube is a night person. And we have everybody know the rule. We shouldn't call him before noon. Because he stay up very late and he go to bed very late in the morning. So we cannot call him before noon. So I think you have same pattern as Mr. Ifukube.
I can see that.